Hello, everyone. I am Jimmy Dada Leturna, and I'm the youth leader and pastor of Church of God Mission International Australia. And I want to briefly talk about the recent protests by the Black Lives Matter movement, which has been against racism and the killing of African Americans by police officers. First of all, I must say I'm quite surprised to see that a lot of people have actually come together from different parts of the world to support this movement because, from my perspective, you could say this is something that you would not have expected to have happened. But it's good to see that a lot of people have actually come together to stand against the problem of racism, which has existed for decades. And now, talking about the recent protests by the Black Lives Matter movement, I want to ask us all, especially my fellow Africans, some questions, and I mean this in the most respectful manner. And they are: should we only protest against racism and discrimination only when a person of non African descent discriminates against and is racist towards an African person? Does the life of an African person matter only when a person of non African descent discriminates against and kills an African person? What about the killing of Africans by their own fellow Africans? Because research shows that in some parts of America, African Americans are more likely to be killed by their own fellow African Americans than they are by people of any other race. And African Americans are more likely to be killed by their own fellow African Americans than they are by police officers. And this has been happening for decades. Yet, how many times have we come together to protest against this? And at what age does the life of an African person start to matter? Is it when they're in their 20s? Is it when they're in their 30s? Is it when they're in their 40s? Because research shows that in some parts of America, African American women are more likely than women of any other race to have an abortion. And believe this or not, in places like New York, African American babies are more likely to be aborted yearly than they are given birth to. And that abortion is the number one killer of African Americans in the United States. Abortion kills more African Americans than HIV, than AIDS, than cancer. Abortion kills more African Americans than heart disease, than crime, homicide combined. And now I understand that there may be a number of reasons as to why women may choose to have an abortion. But then the question is, what are we doing to effectively tackle this problem? Or do we just allow this to continue? Let's think about that for a moment. We protest against some of the leaders in the United States, but then again, how many times have we come together to stand with our fellow Africans whom are in Africa to protest against some of those corrupt leaders whom, because of their corruptions, they've left some of their own people to not only experience but to suffer and die because of things like war, things like poverty, hunger, and many other problems. A wise man once said, if you want to change the world, you have to change yourself first. And I haven't said that if we truly want people of non African descent to esteem and to value the life of Africans, be it African Americans, African Asians, African Australian, or any other African, then one of the many things that we need to do is to stop being racist towards and discriminating against each other. We need to find ways to effectively tackle the problem of the killing of Africans by their own fellow Africans and stand against some of those corrupt leaders whom are and have continued to ruin the lives of many people. And now, in the process of doing this, we have to understand that we cannot do this by ourselves because we need others. Because the problem of racism, the problem of discrimination, abortion, war, and many other problems do not only affect Africans, they affect people of many other race. Thank you all very much for listening. I understand that this is a very sensitive topic, and that's why I encourage you all to please comment and to share your thoughts and know that I'm willing to learn because I understand that I might not have all the answers, and that's why I've been asking questions. Thank you all very much once again. God bless.